My name's Graham Spicer, and I am the UK, EMEA and Asia country head for SplashBI. Thank you for attending today's sneak preview of next week's From Data Source to Informed Decision-Making events in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. These will be the first in our DataDay series being run by SquareOne Technologies, Alteryx and SplashBI. Today we're going to have a brief chat about data capture, the data journey and democratizing data. Joining me for this discussion are Minosh Salam, Nadir Amar of SquareOne Technologies, Anik Hakim of Alteryx, and Rishab Maglani of SplashBI. Each of them will tell you a little bit about themselves as they answer our initial questions. We're going to concentrate on 4 questions about the data today and then get the panel's views on next week's events. So the first question I have to ask, and I will start with Minosh, if that's okay with Minosh, is what are the things to be mindful of while capturing data from multiple data sources?
Great. Thanks, Graham. My name is Minosh. I'm one of the directors and co-founders at SquareOne. Been involved with data projects for quite some time, hence I've got closer to the subject. Now, answering your question on, what are the things which we need to be mindful while capturing data from multiple data sources. So one is that, you're accessing a variety of data types and that too from more than one place. A few things which I think we should consider is, first of all, the method of data integration. There are multiple types of data integration, primarily which everyone is familiar with is ETL. But then there are other types of data integration methods, which is in ELT or the reverse ETL and CDC. So the method is pretty important. Secondly, you got to look at of late what has happened is there are automation layers which comes into platforms. So choosing a platform that automates this data integration method so that you can have that automated so that you can focus on other areas of your business. Then we got to look at in terms of data cleansing and transformation. So there could be problems getting associated data from multiple sources, things like, deduplication, other homogenization challenges which you could have. There are quite a few other issues which you should keep in mind, things like, data governance, scalability, and so on. But eventually, to get powerful insights, you need to pull data from multiple sources. And the more complex the data it is, the more diverse your data set is, the potency to get more insights is only going to increase. So additional data sources increases your chance to inform actions of fueling top line, bottom line growth. This is some of the things which I could think of, Graham.
Okay, thanks, Minosh. If I go round and the rest of our panel, let's start with Nada, if you want to introduce yourselves, and then we'll go to Anik and then to Rishab. Just give a brief introduction, and if you want to add anything to what Minosh has already said, please.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. So my name is Nadir Amir. I'm with Minosh at SquareOne. I'm the director of professional services. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely what Minosh is saying is definitely, correct. What we to add to it is, what are the technology and the latest advancement in, machine learning and natural language technologies that will help the organization nowadays to more, take control over the data inputs and how to feed this data to the data analytics tool and data visualization tools that, Anik and Rishab are going to address as well.
Okay, thank you. Anik?
Hey everybody, so my name is Anik Hakim and I'm part of the sales engineering team at Alteryx. So I completely echo the thoughts of what Minosh and Nader said as well, right? So when you're speaking about multiple data sources, you would require one platform because you're talking about catering to multiple different customers. So talking about a single platform which can pretty much go ahead and pull out the data from all of these various different data sources. And then what Minosh mentioned earlier in terms of the quality of the data, the duplication, you need to be able to handle all of these kind of different intricacies when it comes to data itself, right? And this is what we see a lot of organizations do as well, where you've got multiple different platforms, you're using various different data sources. So you'd like to go ahead and achieve a status of a single source of truth, if I put it that way, where you have that one single platform or a data mart or a data lake or whatever you set up as your organization strategy in order to achieve that single source of truth. So I would say there's no right answer to it. Various different organizations have different perspectives. And this is where, when you come to the DataDay series as well, we'll be speaking about the best practices around this, right? And these are the kind of conversations we'll be having on that day as well.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, Rishabh.
Thanks, Graham. Hi, everyone. This is Rishabh. I work with Graham here in our SplashBI UK office. I've been working with data strategy analytics for the last 6.5 years. And the only points that I would add to that response is we should never leave the focus of what is it that you're trying to achieve. So the time to value needs to be considered at all times. If you're extracting data for the next 6 months and you don't have a response, or you don't have a ready-made answer for someone asking, then what's the effort worth? So you have to consider that time to value as well. There's always this concept of capturing information, but we also have to keep in mind what is actually needed in that particular capturization of that particular data for that use case that you're having, and whether you're capturing it in the same format like the users want, because at the end of the day they are the ones who are going to define the value behind what you've captured and put it in one place. So yeah.
Okay. Right, well, staying with you then, Rishabh, let's go for the next question. So what do you believe are the critical aspects of the data journey, and where do most projects fail?
I think there are various, so when you talk about a data project, right, it's always in concern as to how do you actually monetize it? How do you actually see the value behind it? And at the same time, like Minosh was, talking about, there are various methods that you can follow. But for me, any data project, the first key characteristic needs to be that it needs to be very agile. If it's going to fail, it needs to fail faster so that we can improvise on that one as such. We don't have to be stuck on a big project initially and then come out that the value, again, like I said, the value needs to be quantified at all stages. The second, I think I need to say that we shouldn't be stuck in a loop of maintenance when we try and talk about big data warehouses as such. We should be basically practicing a loop of innovation. So what are we trying to achieve? What is it that we can get faster? So trying to fine tune the ROI that you've, or on the investment that you've made with that strategy, that needs to be very key as well. And last, if you, and I hope this, this is my opinion, data analytics, when it comes to an aspect of actually finding the value, it's not just a technology part of it, right? There's always this functional expertise that goes along with it. And we've seen use cases where people from different backgrounds like psychology, arts, sciences, they've come into the picture, and they're making much more sense because they understand the domain. All they need is that backing of that data. They need that support of the data to be able to prove their hypotheses, to be really honest. So I think every project needs to have that technology plus that vision or that functional expertise as well. But if you lose out either of them, the project is sort of going the wrong path as such.
Okay. Well, everybody else, Anik, Nada, Minosh, anything you want to add to Rishabh's
Yeah.
comment?
No, I think Rishabh has kind of, brought out the key elements. From a process standpoint, I would say the steps involved into getting the right data for decision makers is pretty much the same. The process is the same. The magnitude could change, the platforms or the usage of certain heavy platforms could change based on the project. But eventually, what you need to look at is, first of all, are you having the are you having the right data? How secure is the data? Is your data biased in some way or the other? Are you able to legally use those data? I mean, can you ethically use those data? Can you get the data processed in a timely manner? Because the meaning of a specific set of data today could be very different in maybe a few days or a few months down the line. So timeliness is extremely important. Now, that is one of some of the key components. Secondly, from a talent standpoint, I think Rishabh did touch upon that. Today, data projects is not just a data scientist and somebody trying to help him from the business side. There is quite a few different talents which are required for data projects to be successful. Lastly, what I would say is, while there are more and more data projects happening in organization, there are more and more organizations getting more data centric. They're trying to build data culture organizations. We still see that 60, 70, the figure maybe plus or minus. There are a lot of projects which are failing, and that's because many a times the definition and the objective of the value which data brings to the organization itself is not clear. I mean, that's surprising, but that is a fact, because we got involved in projects, and what happens is you start off with something, but somewhere down the line, somebody else comes in, redefines that. So getting the right questions defined early on from the right stakeholders is extremely important. So those are some of the things which I think we should consider so that data projects don't fail.
Okay, thanks, Manoj. Nada?
Yeah, I mean, definitely when it comes to data, like Minoj and Rishabh has mentioned, it's all about the strategy, how you where you want to reach, and how to put the right platform to collect all this. It's mainly the main challenge here is getting the data, and gets your data in a structured manner, in a machine readable manner that will allow you to easily execute upon it and easily use this data for your predictive models to know what your customer needs, to know what the market needs. So it's very important that you build the strategy, how to first to consolidate all the data sources, how to manage all the data from different various data sources, and collect them and build your data models around them. So this is the key thing, strategy, like Minoj was saying, and that's what Rishabh also was highlighting.
Thank you. Anik, anything to add?
I think Minoj, Rishabh, and Nader has covered it pretty well, right? So nothing much to add from my side, to be honest.
Well, I'll turn to you for the next question then. So it's actually two questions. Can an analytics platform help democratize data, and can it simplify the decision-making process?
Oh, that's a great question, Graham. So what we've seen is there was a recent study conducted actually by New Vantage Partners. And what they found out was like 92% of organizations continue to invest heavily in AI and analytics, right? But only 19% actually feel that they've truly established a data-driven culture. And what we've realized is that the main factors that are causing this huge gap, firstly, is lack of analytic skills, right? So that's the main thing that we see. The second part is poor access to data itself, slow and error-prone manual processes that you have, and lastly, a shortage of knowledge workers. Because today we are heavily reliant on be it data scientists, be it data analysts, be it data engineers. So even business is hugely reliant on IT and these various different personas in order to get their day-to-day work done, make those business decisions. So there's a huge delay being caused there. And this is exactly where Alteryx as a platform comes in, right? And we go with the messaging of analytics for all, and we truly mean that as well. And what we do is we deliver an easy end-to-end automation, right? And we can do data engineering. You're talking about analytics. You're talking about reporting, machine learning, data science processes. And this is exactly where we enable enterprises everywhere to go ahead and democratize data and analytics across the organization. And you can cover a wide variety of use cases. So this is where we speak about one single platform going ahead and truly going with the messaging of analytics for all, no matter what the persona is, and truly democratizing analytics from that perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. Anybody else? Nada, any comments on that question or?
Sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I was
I mean,
mute.
maybe.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine with me. I totally agree with Anik on this.
Okay, Minosh, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, yeah. The keyword democratization is extremely important, because I mean we have seen technologies over time. When products came out, right from cars to somebody wants to fly, over a period of time, because of the large production and economies of scale, it has reached down to the consumer. And today, a lot of people do enjoy that. Similarly, in organizations are churning huge volumes of data, and organizations are trying to get more out of data. But the point is, is it restricted to a few people? Is it going to the last mile of users? And how do we simplify that? And that is what democratization is. And organizations like Anik said, the Alteryx platforms empowers you to do that, where they simplify and give you the information in a more simplistic manner to the last mile user. So as organizations adopt more and more of that culture, we can see that organizations who do that are the ones who are getting better than the others.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Rishabh, final comment on that one?
I would just say, Graham, apart from what's already been mentioned, I believe that the concept of data democratization comes along with the governance as well, because you can't necessarily let people have access to it without having that sort of a model as to who needs what access as well. It has to be governed. Even like countries or democracies, they have a governance model with them, so that will give them that freedom without having to think that whether our security is being breached or not. So there has to be a control mechanism, and then you can allow users to be able to a part of that democracy much more. So governance needs to be taken care as well in the same time.
Yeah, good point. I've got one final question, but before I turn to Nada for that, I'd actually like to make a comment on this as well. So I've been doing this now. I'm into my 43rd year of collecting data for people and trying to produce reports and analytics for them. And Anik made the point of analytics for all, and Minosh made a point of failing projects because of people changing their requirements because somebody changed his job or something's happened or there's been a merger of companies or whatever. My view on it is that unless you make all of the data available to everybody from the outset, and I agree with Rishabh that governance has to be there, security has to be there, nobody will know, because if you ask most organizations about the data that they've got, they probably only understand and know about 60% of the data that's available to them. If you look at many of the cloud applications that are out there at the moment, they actually only make about 80% of the data that they store available to their customers to use. So unless somebody knows what data they've got, they don't know if they can use it. And I've always advocated not to worry about cleansing data before you start your journey, but just get as much of that data available as you can in an organized manner with the governance, and then let people see it, and the users then can decide what they need, what they don't need, and that will change. It will change on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, depending on the role they do. So data, I think, I will change Anik's statement from analytics for all to data for all, which obviously is democratizing data. So,
Great. Graham, I have one question for you.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. Yeah,
no, it's not that. I mean, it's that you have been associated more than any of us with data for a longer period of time. And hence, what have you seen over the years? What has changed over the years from a data standpoint? And what is that? What is that we are, going to foresee in the next few years?
Okay.
This is what I would like to hear from you.
Right. So there's more of it. There's definitely more of it than there used to be. Infinitesimal times more, and that will continue to grow. The data that organizations collect now, if you imagine just collecting the information on your company that's been posted on Facebook and Twitter in a day, it's huge, and then trying to process that data. So the amount of data has changed. The ability to process it with both hardware and software has changed. And when I started, there used to be a race that you'd bring out a piece of hardware, and then the software, you would have to race to catch up with the hardware. And then the software would be better than the hardware, and you'd have to upgrade the hardware to catch up with the software. And now that's not quite, so much. But the biggest change is that there is no change. It's just that you use different words. So Rishabh, in answer to one of the questions, used the word agile. You've got to be agile. We used to call it prototyping. It's no different. It's just, people use shorter words to make everything quicker. And they use more descriptive words to make it sound, And as again, Rishabh said, there are more people involved now with data. I think the days of the data scientist are, I wouldn't say numbered, but they're going to be different, because I think eventually everybody in business functions will become data scientists. They will have to. Right. That will be part of their role. There's a couple of organizations that we've tried to sell to in the past where their mantra is, we've got a team of 120 data scientists, everything's going into a data lake, and our HR users will tell us what they want today, and we will extract that data and we'll put it into Tableau, and then we'll give them the report in 4 days' time. Lovely. But in 4 days' time, that data is old. What people need is real-time access to real data in the way that they need it, when they need it. That hasn't changed. It's just that there's more people and more data. I'll give you another example of what's not changed. Cloud. When I started in the industry, I sold time-sharing solutions. I don't mean apartments on the beach. I mean, time-sharing on computers. I worked in London. All of our hardware was based in Houston. Now, that isn't very different to the cloud as it stands at the moment, and people paid for the processing power of the computers and for storage. So everything goes round and round. It's just bigger, better, and faster. So that's the biggest change that I've seen, Minosh. Thank you for asking the question. Yeah. Right. So now people are getting an idea as to how old I am.
Great answer.
Thank you. Right, I'm going to go.
That's the wise.
I'm going to go to Nada.
That's
for
the wise man talking.
And I think this question actually sets us up probably ready for our second event when we move towards it, as a more than what we're actually going to be talking about when we're in Abu Dhabi and Dubai next week. So Nada, what do you think the implications and advantages of intelligent data capture are?
Yeah, indeed, Graham. So you mentioned one very, very important point, is that people need access to live data and real data at real time. And the challenge in that is, studies, as per studies, it's 80 to 90% of the data is unstructured or none ready for machine reading immediately. Now we are probably here in this part of the world, we are a bit lucky because government has adopted or paperless or electronic services, e-services, and so on. So we have a huge amount of data is already in digital format, but still we need to do a lot of work. And some organizations, they still consider data extraction and manual data extraction and manual data classification as a fixed cost. So they still invest in there and have people dedicated for doing that. And this is whether you do it or not, as you rightly said, it's still the data when it comes and it's ready for processing. It's impacting the stream of information. It's impacting decision making and real-time visibility. So definitely, intelligent data processing can help. Because now with all the technology, the machine learning, the natural language technologies and so on, definitely it can help, because now you can squeeze out the most value from such content. But again, the challenge is there that the market is dense. There is typical standard traditional OCR technology that they call themselves, intelligent data processing and so on. So the organization has to be really wise and has to understand what is the use case, because if you're going for a very specific use case, there are already vertical use case, vertical solution that address, for example, insurance related, intelligent data capture, or mortgage related, or KYC on customer onboarding. So you have to choose the right one. Or if you have multiple use cases, then you have to do your tests, you have to do your POCs and proof of concept, and this needs real and proper handling by someone who has done this, someone who has done this, has the expertise to do this kind of information, because it's not just as simple as throwing a document and the system will learn. You need to be prepared. You have to have certain set of procedures to do that. But eventually, there are technologies nowadays which definitely we can discuss in the upcoming days where we have the live events, and go into more details about this area.
Brilliant, thank you. Anybody else want to add anything on that point?
No, I wanted to ask another. I wanted to in turn ask another of the questions. So another, you mentioned intelligent data capture, and you referred unstructured data. What are these unstructured data? What types are this? What are we referring to over here?
Look, unstructured, it's not just physical paper or some image based. It could be electronic or any digital format. But what you need is more than just what is available on the document. It also, or on the content itself. You need also this data to be cross-checked or validated as well. So it's anything that a machine cannot just simply take it and put it in a table or an Excel sheet with a proper format, or it cannot be consumed by the likes of Alteryx or SplashBI or any kind of visualization tool that we consider as unstructured. It could be an email, it could be an audio, it could be a video, it could be any kind of content format that cannot be actionable, cannot trigger a process, cannot make a judgment, cannot allow a person on top to immediately take a decision.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that is really important, because it's those pieces of information that actually help people to formulate the decision-making process. You can stare at data all you like, but unless you can connect to a link that will show you something about that data, it's not, and that's the difference. That's where I think combining the functional expertise with the skills of a data scientist come into play. So maybe they're going to be functional scientists as opposed to data scientists. Okay. Okay, so we're nearing the end now. We've got a couple of minutes left to go. So briefly, in a few words each, I'll start with Minosh, go to Nadir, then go to Anik, and then go to Rishab. Why should people attend our events in Abu Dhabi and Dubai next week?
Oh, because we want them to.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, no, I think, look, typically most of the events which do happen around, and there are many of them in the region which is happening post-COVID, people are all coming out in bigger crowds and attending these events. But what is different about this event is where, we are bringing in multiple vendors from different parts of the data analytics story and bringing them together. I don't think you do find so many events of that sort. For example, even if I were to just talk about Alteryx, Alteryx would do an event, or Snowflake would do an event, which kind of addresses a specific part of the solution. As far as this event is concerned, I think we are kind of looking at 360 degrees, looking at right from the data source to the eventual consumption, and looking at all the challenges and all the different platforms which could possibly be used. So insights into that from different people is quite valuable for anybody who is in that part of the journey.
Perfect. Nada?
Yeah, I mean, for me, make it very, very short for the audience. I mean, what we need is, we want to share, our experience when it comes to delivering, data projects. And we really want to be very transparent. So we will share why projects failed with us, based on our experience, why it succeed. Okay. Where, how to control the expectations of the customer, but also we'd love them to be there, because we want to hear from them. We want to, also learn from them. So it's going to be very exciting, very interactive, and we would love to see all of them, especially as also after COVID. I think it's the first face-to-face event I personally conduct after so many years.
Okay.
So, can't wait to see everybody there.
Excellent. Anik?
Completely echo what Minosh and others said. So personally, for me, it's about meeting the customers, understanding their issues or problems that they have, the current business challenges, and giving a way to solve it, right? Like Alteryx, SplashBI, what are the areas we can cover for them? How can we help you? And also probably showcase something, right? It's not just going to be us standing in front of a presentation and just talking. We'll be showing you some nice, cool demos, showing exactly how it can be implemented, see things live in action as well. So that's one perspective from which you can probably relate to as well, seeing relevant demos, demonstrations of the platform or the different capabilities, and see it live in action, and then probably take those discussions to the next level once you go ahead and witness all of those different kind of capabilities that we're showcasing.
Excellent. And finally, Rishabh.
Well, Graham, I think everyone's covered so many points that I don't have much left. But yeah, I am really excited to visit, attend the show, and also share our story of the projects that we've done with various customers there, and also at the same time talk to people, interact, and hopefully solve some problems again. Looking for the next challenge, actually.
Right. So I've got 2 points as to why I think people should be there that nobody's raised. The first one is, sometimes at a lot of these events, when they're organized by vendors or multiple vendors, it becomes very much a, look at what we've got show, but that's not the case. We've got 3 fantastic use cases that we're going to be talking about on digital transformation. So that's really good. And the second reason I think people should be there is that, for me, it's going to be far better value and much more exciting than going to the World Cup in Qatar. So, I would like to thank our panelists for joining us this morning. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys next week. So I will be a little bit tired when I arrive, because I don't land until 1 a.m. in Dubai, and then I've got to be in Abu Dhabi by 8 a.m. So if you catch me falling asleep, leave me for at least 15 minutes, please. But, and all of you people that are listening in to us and watching us, you'll have been seeing the registration link flying by. So 2 days, Monday the 12th, we're in Abu Dhabi, and Wednesday the 14th, we're in Dubai, and we'd love to see as many people there as possible. Thank you very much, everybody, and see you all next week.
You.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.